Cody, there was a chili nacho cheese incident that nearly derailed this courtship.
I know, he was so silly.
Did you?
I will be honest, I was not attracted to Christine in any kind of physical sense.
Recently, Christine Brown made a post on Instagram that is just driving the internet wild. This is the post that Christine put up on Instagram a couple of days ago. It's her and her fiance, David, eating nachos. Not a big deal, right? Let's read the caption. Thanks for the fun nacho date, love. I feel blessed to have someone to laugh with. Underneath in the comments, Janelle responded with this. Why is this a big deal? We're going to go back to their book to determine why this post matters. Now, you already know the book is called Becoming Sister Wives, The Story of an Unconventional Marriage. If you don't have it, you should get it. It's kind of interesting. If you can get it from your library, that's even better. Anyway, I'm going to find the page here and then I'm going to read you a section from it. Okay, the section I'm going to read is on page 53 of their book. And at this point in the book, Cody and Mary are recently married. Remember, they were really young at the time. Mary was 19, I think, and Cody was in his early 20s. Mary had been in the church for a while, but Cody was new. And as you can imagine, I don't know. This is, I think, debatable. But most people agree, you got to admit, that when Cody was younger, he was a good-looking young man. And as a good-looking young man, new to the church, he was recently married, but for all intents and purposes in their culture, he was still available to other women. He got a lot of attention. And Christine was one of the women who was giving him attention. About a year after Christine met Cody, Cody and Mary decided to host like a weekend retreat at his parents' ranch in Wyoming. And they invited all of the young adults from the church. And I think they said about 19 or 20 people ended up making the trip with them. And they all, caravan, everybody get a ride where you can. So Cody drove his car, and of course, Mary, his wife, rode with him, and Christine rode with them in the backseat. The drive from Utah to Wyoming typically would have taken just half a day, but that night, the weather was terrible. They got caught in snowstorms. I've never been in Utah or Wyoming, but they said there's mountains and it sounds kind of treacherous. They were pushing cars up the hill trying to get to Wyoming. It wasn't working. They ended up all having to pull over for the night and sleep in their cars, it sounds like. They were young, though. So when they write about it in the book, they said it just felt like an adventure. Good for them. That sounds like a nightmare to me, but they were open to the fun of it. The next day, I guess the weather stabilizes and they get back on the road and they, start going towards Wyoming. Well, they were on the road, right? A lot longer than they had planned to be. Cody wrote in the book about feeling kind of sick. He had been drinking soda all day just to try to stay awake and keep everything moving. So he said, just thinking about food made me queasy. That's what Cody wrote on page 53. And at the same time that Cody was feeling queasy, they all decided they needed to stop at the gas station, and Christine got out, and you already know, she got nachos. This is what Cody wrote about Christine getting nachos after this horrific road trip trying to get to Wyoming. Page 53. Christine went into the Quickie Mart and bought herself what seemed like the largest portion of chili cheese nachos that I'd ever seen. The sight of those nachos turned my stomach. I couldn't watch her eat them. She must have been starving because she was eating so quickly, and there was chili sauce and nacho cheese everywhere. Looking back, I hate myself for the thoughts I had at that moment, but the sight of this chubby girl in my car devouring chili cheese nachos for breakfast put the brakes on our relationship, brought out the most superficial and shallowest side of me. I still liked her. In fact, I liked her very much, but the nacho experience cooled my attraction a little. Well, a lot. When Cody wrote this section, assuming they did actually write this, he's writing about himself in his early 20s. And of course, that's not the most loving and compassionate or mature time for most people. But he wrote this when he was in his early 40s. And so he does have some reflection. He says, looking back, I hate myself for the thoughts I had at that moment. But, and then he goes on to say why he was actually right to be disgusted by Christine. And I just feel like if at this point, Christine and Cody had been married for years when this book came out. If my husband and I were in a situation to be sharing the story of our relationship starting, I would not necessarily want him to go into great detail about the time when he was most disgusted by me. And detail, the food that was out of place and the way I was eating, I would just find that really unloving and unkind. And Cody made the decision to do that in his early 40s. Got a lot of flack for that, and I think he deserved it. Christine responded in her section. Again, we're still on page 53. And Christine wrote, "Of course, I had no idea that I'd grossed Cody out with my nachos. I was an overweight kid who liked junk food a little too much. And of all the junk foods in the world, chili cheese nachos were my favorite." To me, Christine's response is so typical of the Christine from years ago when she was still deep in the relationship with Cody. And she kind of is, to me, just making light of it and making kind of fun of it. I like junk food a little too much, and of all the junk foods, I love chili cheese nachos the best. I just think she's being kind of silly with it, not acknowledging how much that actually hurt her. But we do get a little glimpse of how this moment and Cody's writing about it and sharing it with the world actually did affect Christine a few years later in this episode.
So you were not physically attracted to Christine?
That's an understatement.
You were grossed out by her?
I won't say that, but the nachos grossed me out enough to make me go, okay, I'm waiting to marry
How
her.
does it feel to hear
It
him
hurts.
say?
It's horrible.
One thing I know about life, and this story with Christine and Cody and the nachos just affirms for me, when you get a good plate of nachos for you, that good plate of nachos is not going to let you down, right? When Christine was, I think she's in her late teens, eating those nachos, trying to impress Cody or not, maybe she's just living her life, enjoying her food. Cody is gone now, but the nachos are still there. Years later, that good plate of nachos is still there for Christine, and lucky her, now she has a man sitting there with her, willing to enjoy them with her. I love that for her. And I love a good plate of nachos. In all seriousness, Cody writing about the nachos, talking about it on the reunion special. Of course, he was asked about it, but even still, him being committed to this idea that, yes, I was disgusted by her and I have a right to say that and publicly humiliate her. It just represented the fact that Cody was so unkind and uncaring and unloving towards Christine. And now we see that Christine, who was hurt by that in the past, has moved on. She didn't have to change who she was. She didn't have to stop liking nachos. She could get her a big old plate of nachos and sit up with the love of her life and enjoy them with him. So in Christine's post on Instagram, she has a hashtag. I don't know if it's live nachos or live nachos. Apparently it's a restaurant in somewhere in Utah. And so it's possible that, she just happened to go to that restaurant with David and her family, and she just made a post about it, and she wasn't thinking about Cody. That's possible, except for Janelle's response and the little laughy emojis. That's the clue to me that they know what they're doing. And Christine knows what it means for her to post that on her page. And I love that for her. I love that she has shed the burden of caring about Cody's ego and his feelings, and that she's just doing the stuff that she loves. That's what she told us she was going to be doing in her 50s, and it looks like she's doing it. I'm so happy for her. So anyway, that's it. Let me know, what do you think about the post? Do you love it? Do you want to see more of this spicy side of Christine on Instagram, on social media, and maybe on the show? A little spice out of Christine is fun, because generally I think she's right and the spice is warranted. Anyway, as always, yes, let me know what you think, and I'll either meet you in the comments or in the next video. All right, take care. Bye.